She sighs, not angrily, just softly, and suddenly you're explaining yourself again. You're not sure what you did wrong, only that peace now depends on your apology. It feels like communication, but it's choreography, an emotional dance she doesn't even know she's leading. These aren't conscious games, they're instinctive maneuvers carved by fear, validation, and survival. Every man has felt them, few can name them. 7 manipulations women use without realizing. Invisible hands that move your emotions until you can no longer tell the difference between love and control. Number 1. The compassion trap. She doesn't accuse him directly. She just lowers her voice, looks away, and says, "I just feel like I'm never enough for you." It sounds innocent, almost tender, but beneath that softness lies a precise psychological mechanism. Guilt is the quietest form of control because it wears the mask of moral truth. When she feels unseen or insecure, her brain doesn't plan manipulation. It triggers emotional survival. The body language of hurt, the pause before tears, the retreat into silence, all of it activates the man's deepest reflex, to repair. He moves closer, explains, reassures, apologizes for things he doesn't understand. He believes he's being loving, but what he's really doing is conditioning himself to equate her discomfort with his failure. The loop begins there. She expresses pain. He accepts fault. Her nervous system relaxes. She unconsciously learns that guilt brings closeness. Neither of them see it. It just becomes the rhythm of their bond. Neuroscience calls this the empathy relief cycle. When a woman externalizes emotion and a man internalizes responsibility, both get a short chemical reward. She feels soothed, he feels needed. But over time, the cost compounds. He starts scanning her face for tension, preemptively managing her moods before she speaks. Guilt becomes his compass, and peace becomes performance. The tragedy of the guilt hook is that it rewards emotional dependence while punishing self-possession. He stops setting boundaries because boundaries feel like cruelty. He confuses emotional regulation with suppression. Every apology earns him less respect, not more, because it signals submission, not understanding. The only exit is awareness, recognizing that guilt is a transaction, not a truth. Love cannot be proven through penance. Compassion means listening. Corruption begins when you pay for someone's feelings with your integrity. Number 2, the withdrawal test. She doesn't yell this time, she just goes quiet. Messages get shorter, eye contact fades, her presence turns ghostly. For him, the silence feels unbearable. He replays every word from their last conversation, searching for the mistake he must have made. That's the trick. Her distance makes him responsible for her return. What looks like detachment is actually direction, an unspoken command that says, "Come, find me, prove I still matter." Withdrawal isn't random. It's an ancient behavioral reflex, absence as bait. In early human bonding, attention equaled survival. Whoever could command connection had safety. Modern relationships still run on that software. When she retreats, the man's nervous system flares, flooded with cortisol and uncertainty. He mistakes anxiety for love, pursuit for care. His need to fix her silence becomes proof of his devotion, and she feels desired again. It's not malice, it's conditioning. Emotional distance makes the next reunion feel like relief, and that relief becomes addictive. The more he chases, the more her power stabilizes. The dynamic locks in. She disappears to reset tension. He pursues to restore equilibrium. Over time, it rewires his instincts. He starts anticipating withdrawal, adjusting behavior to prevent it, softening opinions, tiptoeing around honesty, offering affection not from love, but from fear of losing it. Each compromise earns temporary peace but deepens permanent dependency. True composure breaks the cycle. When she withdraws, hold your frame. Don't chase silence, meet it with stillness. The one who stays grounded teaches the other nervous system what safety really feels like. Her distance isn't a summons, it's a mirror. If you stop running toward her calm, she has no choice but to find her own. Number 3, the comparison mirror. It starts casually, almost harmless. He used to bring me flowers. My friend's boyfriend always planned something special. The words sound observational, not cruel, but underneath them lies a subtle recalibration of worth. Comparison is the quietest form of hierarchy. It tells him he's being measured, not for what he is, but for what he's failed to be. Every statement hides a question. Are you still enough to compete? Women rarely do this consciously. It's an instinctual form of security testing, a subconscious audit of status and devotion. In primitive social structures, survival depended on aligning with the most resourceful, attentive partner. Comparison evolved as a detection mechanism, signal dissatisfaction, observe the reaction, and measure his willingness to re-establish position. The more he performs to close that emotional gap, the safer she feels. For him, it's not safety, it's erosion. He starts performing for an invisible judge. Every compliment, gesture, or effort becomes proof that he can still win. He stops leading and starts auditioning. The tragedy is that her affection no longer feels earned. It feels conditional, purchased by effort. His masculine identity collapses into comparison, his self-worth now outsourced to her shifting standards. What makes the comparison mirror so dangerous is that it feels rational. It sounds like feedback, but it functions like control. The man believes he's improving. What he's really doing is negotiating his own value. The more he tries to measure up, the smaller he becomes. The only antidote is detachment from the metric. Don't defend, outperform, or protest. See the mirror for what it is, a reflection of her internal state, not an assessment of yours. When a man stops competing with ghosts, the game ends. The mirror doesn't shatter, it just stops showing him. Number 4. The fragility shield. She begins to cry before he finishes his sentence. Not the loud, angry kind of crying, but the trembling, wounded silence that freezes him mid-word. He watches her shoulders shake and feels his chest tighten with guilt, even though all he did was express frustration. Every man knows that moment, the sudden shift when logic collapses under the weight of emotion. 1 second, it's a conversation. The next, it's a rescue mission. And without realizing it, he's no longer speaking his truth. He's managing her fragility. The fragility shield is not deliberate. It's a learned defense, refined through years of conditioning that taught women vulnerability is safety. When emotion becomes unassailable, accountability disappears. Society rewards softness in women and restraint in men, so when she dissolves into tears, he feels compelled to absorb the blame. Her nervous system regulates, his collapses. What looks like empathy is often submission disguised as care. Over time, this pattern becomes its own silent hierarchy. She never has to raise her voice, because her weakness has become authority. He stops bringing up difficult subjects, not from fear of conflict, but from fear of hurting her. Yet in sparing her discomfort, he begins erasing himself. Conversations become one-sided rituals of reassurance, his truth censored by compassion. She senses his withdrawal, misreads it as indifference, and amplifies the emotion further. Another cycle of rescue, another piece of him gone. The tragedy of the fragility shield is that it rewards dependence. The more fragile she appears, the more control she gains. The more protective he becomes, the more invisible his boundaries grow. But compassion without boundaries is not love, it's compliance. True care requires strength, and strength means refusing to let emotion dictate truth. He doesn't need to harden, he needs to remain still when tears rise, to separate empathy from surrender. Love thrives where honesty survives, and honesty cannot live beneath fragility. When he learns to meet emotion without absorption, she learns to stand without defense. The shield only works until someone stops mistaking softness for truth. Number 5. The chaos anchor. Everything is fine. Too fine. The air feels calm, almost empty. Then, without warning, she finds something small to ignite. A comment taken the wrong way, a tone misheard, a glance misread. Suddenly the room changes temperature. He's on trial for an emotion he doesn't understand, and by the time it's over, they're holding each other again, exhausted but connected. What he doesn't see is the rhythm, underneath, the quiet addiction to tension that keeps love feeling alive. The chaos anchor isn't drama for its own sake. It's emotional recalibration. For many women, peace feels unfamiliar, even unsafe, because calm doesn't stimulate the nervous system. They grew up equating love with intensity, raised on conflict as proof of passion, trained by culture to associate unpredictability with importance. When things settle, The mind panics. If I don't feel something strong, is it still real? So it manufactures turbulence to confirm existence. He responds like most men do, with logic, reassurance, explanation. But logic doesn't break this cycle, it feeds it. The more he tries to calm her, the more she feels unseen because her subconscious wasn't asking for reason, it was asking for energy. And when he finally raises his voice, something clicks. The fire returns, her pulse rises, and suddenly she's affectionate again. The chaos restored what the peace could not, chemical stimulation. The trap is invisible because it feels intimate. They both confuse exhaustion with depth. He mistakes reconciliation for connection, not realizing that each crisis quietly erases his sense of safety. The relationship begins to depend on volatility to feel alive. He starts dreading peace, anticipating the next storm, rehearsing defense instead of presence. To break the pattern, he must redefine intensity. Love is not meant to feel like survival. Stability is not boredom, it's clarity. The man who remains calm while chaos performs around him teaches her nervous system a new language, one where connection doesn't require crisis. Peace is not emptiness, it's maturity. The real anchor isn't chaos, it's composure. Number 6. The rewrite trick. A week after the argument, she brings it up again. But the story has changed. The words he remembers saying have softened. The tone she recalls has sharpened. And somehow, the sequence of events now places him at fault. He feels disoriented, unsure if his memory is flawed or if reality has been quietly rewritten. This is the rewrite trick. One of the subtlest and most destabilizing psychological maneuvers in relationships. It's not always deception. Often, it's emotional truth overwriting factual memory. Memory is not a recording. It's a reconstruction filtered through emotion. When someone feels pain, the brain reorganizes facts to justify that emotion. In that moment, her feelings become the evidence. The more intense the emotion, the more authority the new story gains. She isn't lying, she's protecting coherence between how she feels and what must have happened to cause it. But the cost of that protection is shared reality. When emotion edits truth, the relationship loses a common language. He responds by defending logic, quoting, clarifying, replaying the sequence like a witness. But logic cannot compete with pain. The more he insists on details, the more she experiences dismissal. To her, his accuracy feels like cruelty. To him, her rewriting feels like gaslighting. Both are right in experience, wrong in interpretation. And in that gap, trust begins to corrode. Over time, he starts doubting his perception, walking on mental eggshells. He avoids conflict because each disagreement risks being rewritten later. She feels emotionally unheard. He feels psychologically erased. It's not a battle of honesty. It's a war between memory and emotion always wins. The only way out is detachment from debate. Don't argue history. Stay anchored in the present. That's not how I remember it is enough. Truth doesn't need to be proven. It needs to be lived consistently. Over time, consistency reconstructs reality more effectively than correction ever could. The rewrite trick dissolves when one person stops playing historian and starts being witness. Number 7. The you don't understand me paradox. It happens the moment he gets close to clarity. He lays out his point calmly, logically, maybe even kindly, and she exhales, eyes distant, and says the phrase that ends all dialogue. You just don't understand me. The conversation collapses, not because she's right, but because the ground itself shifts. That single sentence moves the discussion from reason to emotion, from solvable to sacred. He's no longer addressing the issue. He's defending his capacity to empathize. The you don't understand me paradox is less manipulation than armor. It's how many women preserve a sense of mystery when vulnerability feels unsafe. By declaring her inner world unreachable, she protects her ego from exposure and shields her emotions from being defined by anyone else. The irony is that this defense isolates her further, ensuring that no one truly can understand her, because she's turned understanding into disobedience. The more he tries to prove he gets it, the more she retreats into abstraction. He starts chasing comprehension like it's love, analyzing every word, reading tone like scripture. His logic sharpens, his patience thins, and still the phrase returns. What he doesn't see is that she's not asking to be understood, she's asking to stay untouchable. Every attempt to decode her becomes proof that she's indecipherable. It's a paradox she unconsciously maintains to preserve power through distance. He breaks free not by solving her, but by surrendering the need to. Understanding is not the same as agreement, and empathy doesn't mean absorption. The mature man stops trying to win the debate of feelings. He listens fully, responds selectively, and remains unmoved by emotional fog. Paradoxically, when he stops proving comprehension, she feels safer to express what's real, because the mystery no longer has to protect her. The phrase loses its power the moment he stops trying to answer it. "You don't understand me" was never a challenge, it was a confession. None of this makes her manipulative in the way men fear. These patterns aren't schemes, they're reflexes, old emotional codes disguised as personality. She reaches for control when she feels unsafe. He loses himself when he mistakes control for love. Awareness doesn't make you cynical, it makes you sovereign. The game ends the moment you see it clearly. Because once you stop reacting, you stop being moved. And when you stop being moved, you finally stand still enough to lead.